Right, so another one which I've not really heard of written down, if you know what I mean, or seen written down, but I have actually tried this before. Years ago I tried this as a kind of a prepper's way of getting kind of snare wire. And I think it was a long time ago. I did the video about it, but in a book I've got, it's got like a detailed-ish description of how to make a snare out of copper wire, which I thought that was a little bit weird, because I thought they'd probably at the very least use brass wire. So it's probably best if I just read to you what it says in the book, and then we'll make it, and then we can always talk about maybe why they did it. I don't know. But this is a book written by a bloke called William Carnegie. It's called How to Trap and Snare. And this is a part of making snares. So I'll read it to you. It says, the simple form of snare is usually made of a length of several ply copper wire or picture hanging wire, formed into a noose and attached to a length of cord or twine. Well, picture hanging wire could be brass wire, but you listen to what it says next. Which in its turn is fastened to a stake driven in the ground. The wire to be employed should always be of 6 ply and all copper. Coppered wire, i.e. steel wire coppered over, will not serve the purpose. As to the thickness of the 6 ply, that depends upon the gauge of wire used, but should be about the thickness of the thinnest size of knitting needle. I put it in general terms because the gauges of wire are known and understood by few of the people who deal in it in retail. The length of each strand of wire for the snare must be 22 inches to 24 inches, never less for rabbits. The advantage of buying the wire in 6 ply form is apparent in the greater ease it affords for fashioning the loops necessary to the end. These loops must be made from 1/4 to a 1/2 inch in diameter and are best formed by tying a bowline knot or by splicing, if you are adept at either practice. Otherwise, form the eyes by tying a double knot at the end. This will involve from 2 inches to 4 inches of wire respectively, according to which method of forming the eye is employed, and leave accordingly 20 to 22 inch length. At the other extreme end of the wire, tie a single knot to prevent unravelling. Now take an 18 inch length of stout whipcord or other cord or twine which will not kink when wet. At one end, tie a single knot to correspond with the one on the wire. Then tie the two together, each one round the other, and drawing the two tight. This will give a compact and trustworthy joint. The stakes should be made in the same manner as those recommended for traps, meaning gin traps, to attach with a hole bored through them 2 inches from the top. To attach the cord of the snare to the stake, pass the end through the hole, make a complete circle with it around the stake and bring it back again through the hole, taking a 1/2 hitch around the cord with the end of it. Of course, the loop of the snare must be completed first by passing the end of the cord, etc., through the eyelet at the end of the wire. A possible improvement to this is to have a small, simple swivel in between the cord and wire. This is a matter of individual choice or fancy. For each snare, a small hazel peg, 12 inches long, 1/4 inch in diameter, sharpened at one end and cleft at the other is necessary. Then it gives a very brief description of setting it. The picture doesn't actually give you really any sizes or anything of how you would actually, you know, sort of bowline and a fisherman's knot or angler's knot. But it doesn't tell you that's got to be this high, that high, whatever. It just does it like that. So we'll give it a go and then see if it works and then talk about it, because some things may be different. Right, so I've got some copper wire here, and this is just wire out of an electrical cord. Now I can't promise that this obviously is exactly the same as what he had. He said he had 6 ply, and 6 ply would equal the thickness of the finished knitting needle. And for a start, I have no idea what size the finished knitting needle is now, and I don't know what size the finished knitting needle was in, say, late 1800s, very early 1900s. I have no idea what was the finished size of knitting needle then. So copper wire could have been pretty different then than it is now. This is way more than 6 ply. This is, I don't know, I'd probably say maybe 20, 30 there. So maybe their copper wire was a lot thicker. So yeah, just about. So that's one thing. Their copper wire could have been different to ours. And like I said, the size of the finished knitting needle, I have no idea. We can try it with what we've got now, kind of see how it goes, and maybe see if I can do a test by pulling it or something, you know. The only thing is, I think Mike's still got my scales to tell you the weight of it. Right, so I'm not that great at tying some knots, but hopefully you can just about see this. We've got like a loop, and that goes underneath there, round the back, and back through there. Hope you can see that. And that should create a loop. Now, probably could have tried to make it a bit smaller than that, but that's how it came out. So we might just leave it like that, or I might adjust it. Can't tell, but I hope that's not blurry, but that's the bowline knot done. So I'm going to cut this end off, hoping that'll be alright. If it's a mistake, we'll soon know later. I might try and just twist that up a bit. And then it said in your other end, well, I'm going to put this through here now. In the other end, tie a knot. Now what I'm going to do with this one, I'm not going to tie this knot up fully, because I know what's going to come next, so I'm not going to do that right up. Right, that's what I've got so far. That end, and then that end. Right, so it says about 18 inches of stout whipcord. Well, I've got this kind of paracord, so I'm going to tie the knot, the fisherman's knot, so I've passed that through there. I'm just going to do a similar knot the other end, if I can do it. So hopefully you can see that. So it's just passed through, and then two of the same knots. I'm going to tighten this one up, I'm going to tighten this one up, and then pull them together and make sure they're both tight first. And there you go. I'll probably cut these ends off a bit shorter. Maybe burn the end of the paracord as well. Like I said, he said in that one stout whipcord, but you know, he's probably trying to think of the strongest thing he could think of. So paracord for a modern-ish equivalent is going to be alright. So the next part is attaching to the stake. So it says place it through the hole. I suppose it depends how much of this we want left, the cord we want left. But let's leave a fair bit on there. And then it says, where is that? To attach the cord, to attach the cordless snare to the stake, pass the end through the hole, make a complete circle round it, and bring it back through the hole again. So it's gone through, round, and then tie it off. What did it say? Taking a half hitch around the cord with the end of it. Oh, if I can remember what that is. Well, what I'll do, hold on. Hopefully you can see that. I'm probably going to do 2 of those though, just to make sure. And then I'll cut this bit off. Or shall I? No, I'll cut this bit off. And what I'll do, I'll set it up how I reckon to set it up. We'll take it back again, and then we'll try and break it, whatever, seeing how much force it takes. I haven't got the scales, I don't think, but you know, we might be able to judge it just by putting some weights on it or something. Right, before we go outside and I get too far ahead of myself, I must say that this late 18th century, early 19th century snare was intended for rabbits only. Nothing bigger than that. This is the sole intention was rabbits. He did say about scaling it up, but this size, pretty much what he describes, but with maybe slightly different materials, was for rabbits. Not anything bigger than rabbits. Right, so looking online, the average weight of a rabbit, of a wild rabbit, is 2 kilograms. Well, I've got a 2.5 kilogram weight. What I'll do, I'll put it in this bag, try and wrap this round a bit to kind of make it like a neck, so it's not pulling on something too tight. I'll put the noose around, and then we'll give it a good like jangle, and I'll whack it down like this as well. I'll let it drop. Finally broke. That took a bit. Right at this end it broke. And it seems to have broke. I was going to say on the knot, but it's not. I've taken a fair bit of tugging, and that would be a very heavy rabbit, if you know what I mean. So it seems the knot at the other end, this end, seemed to hold up good, and it's just kind of pulled it flat, the loop. So you know, that would have been illegal nowadays, because that would have ended up in possibly a self-locking snare, if you know what I mean. But we're talking 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s. This all seemed to hold here, but it snapped there. Now whether that was a realistic test or not, I can't really say, because it was heavier than a normal wild rabbit, and I was dropping it from a height. You know, I suppose a rabbit in a trap may run back, you know, like that and kind of get caught, but whether it was a really fat one or not, I don't know. You know, it's hard to say whether this was a realistic test, but, and also the other thing is, who knows whether their brass wire, copper wire, sorry, was completely different to ours. You know, because he was saying 6 strand, or this is way more than 6 strands. This is more like, you know, 20, 30, maybe more. I should be able to show you, I don't know, this end. Way more than 6. I don't know if you can see this or not. But anyway, if you can just about see that, way more than 6 strands that is. So, you know, probably worth doing. See, he did say picture wire, which could have meant brass wire as well, but that's worth looking at. Anyway, so a late 18th century, early 19th century copper snare, but we won't know really, because their wire could have been completely different, and I also don't know what size a finished knitting needle was. Right, anyway, cheers for watching, I'll see you later.